Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I'm going to do the first video about my 1990s music experiences. I decided to do 3 videos for the 90s because I feel I have enough to talk about. The first, which is this one, is about my 1990s pop music experiences. The next one will be about my 1990s country music experiences. And the third and final one will be about my 1990s heavy music experiences. I got the idea of doing this video series in the comment section of a video by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. We learned that we were both fans of Tori Amos, and that gave me the idea of doing this series. This is a side series to my normal book videos. Those are still going to be the primary focus. I aim to do 2 of those videos per week, but I am going to try in the weekly wrap-ups I do toward the end of them, when I talk about my experiences, talk a little more about the music I'm listening to or purchasing at that time, or if I do go to any concerts. One thing I failed to mention in my 1980s videos was my introduction to rap music, which occurred in the 80s. Like many white people, the first that I became aware of rap music, or at least the first that made me want to pursue it, was when Run DMC did a collaboration with Aerosmith on a cover of Aerosmith's Walk This Way. I got the Run DMC album, Raising Hell. So that was really my first introduction to rap music. In 1988, I got the album It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. I'm not sure the impetus of getting this album. The album has great sounds, great politically charged lyrics. Rap music at that time, and I guess still at this time I suppose, a lot of it is about drugs and violence and sex, but Public Enemy was different. They still had hard-hitting music, but they had politically charged lyrics. They were different lyrically while still having great music. Another album I got around that same time was Straight Outta Compton by N.W.A. This was a very controversial album, mainly because of one of their songs on there, which doesn't present a very favorable view of the police. For me, I was more troubled by the misogyny on it, which is a kind of a problem I have with a lot of rap albums. The N.W.A. album is a great album, though, a quite hard-hitting album. In 1993, I heard the song All I Want to Do by Sheryl Crow, and that was a great song. Great lyrics, one of those songs where I could kind of picture the scene. I got the album, it was on Thursday Night Music Club. There are other great songs on the album like Leaving Las Vegas and Strong Enough. Just a great album. I got more of her albums. A lot of great pop rock songs. Great lyrics. I can't remember where I first heard of Tori Amos. I got 2 of her albums, Little Earthquakes and Under the Pink. Those are just really great albums, a lot of great songs on them, great lyrics. One really impressive thing about Tori Amos is that most of the musical backing on her songs is just her playing at piano. There's not a lot of other musicians involved. There might be a little guitar work, but it's mostly just her on piano backing. From the beginning, I loved her lyrics. I got her next album, Boys for Pele, and a bunch of more of her albums as the years have gone by. I think the first I ever heard of the Cranberries was the song Zombie in 1994. Just a great song. I got the album the song was on, No Need to Argue. A lot of great songs, great album. I got their first album, Everybody Else Is Doing It. They were an alternative band. People either loved or hated the singing of lead singer Dolores O'Riordan. I was in the loved camp. I thought her voice was unique and really added to the band. I just thought they were a great band, and as I said, I loved the singing of Dolores O'Riordan. I got more of their albums. I think the first I heard of TLC was the songs Creep and Waterfalls in 1994. I don't remember where I first heard the songs because I wasn't listening to pop radio at this time, but they were great songs. I got the album, the songs were on Crazy Sexy Cool, just a great album. I think I got their first album. I know I got their next album, Fan Mail, which had a huge hit in Scrubs. I think I've got a few more of their albums, at least one or two as the years have gone by. In 1995, I heard the song Just a Girl by No.W.A. I liked the song, but on initial listens, it seemed kind of like a bubblegum song. As I listened to it further, I realized the lyrics were a lot deeper than I thought. I got the album Just a Girl Was On, which is Tragic Kingdom. A great album. They had a ska pop sound. I think I got their first album, but I know I got more of their later albums. In 1995, I heard the song You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette, a surprisingly vicious ode to a former lover who left Alanis for another woman. I got the album, was on Jagged Little Pill, a great album, a bunch of other great songs on it. It was unusual at that time to hear a woman singing angry pop rock songs on mainstream radio. I got more of her albums. None of the later albums I heard quite lived up to the kind of bite of the first one, but still some good stuff on them. In 1995, I heard Who Will Save Your Soul by Jewel. A great song. I got the album, it was on Pieces of You. More great songs on it, a great album. It was really a huge album for Jewel. She's a singer-songwriter, I guess maybe kind of a folk singer. So it was kind of interesting. It wasn't the type of album that you would expect to sell so big as it did, but I'm glad it did. I got some more of her albums. In 1995, I heard I'm Only Happy When It Rains by Garbage. Great song. I got the album it was on, their self-titled debut, Garbage. It had other great songs on it, such as Stupid Girl and Queer. I love the singing of lead singer Shirley Manson. I love the band. I think they play great. I think they got great songs. I got their next album, Garbage 2.0, which had great songs such as Paranoid and more on it. I got later albums of theirs. They're just a great alternative rock band. The first Sarah McLachlan song I heard was either Building a Mystery or Sweet Surrender in 1997. They're both great songs. I bought the album the songs were on, Surfacing. Other great songs on it, a great album. I got one of her previous albums, Fumbling Toward Ecstasy, another great album. And I got later albums of hers too. She's another singer-songwriter with sensitive lyrics and great songs, great music. In 1997, I had a ticket to see Bob Dylan in concert. The opening act was Ani DiFranco. Because I wanted to get familiar with some of her music so I would know it when I saw her, I bought her album Living in Clip, which was a double CD live album. I quickly fell in love with a lot of songs on that album, so I got some of her earlier albums, and I continue to buy later albums. I actually have more of her albums than I have of anyone. I wouldn't say I quite view her as maybe I did back then, but I still like her and I still get her albums when they come out, even if it's kind of more out of a habit. I find with a lot of singers and bands, I continue buying their albums out of habit, or at least listen to the music, but I mostly gravitate toward the earlier stuff. But she's definitely a favorite of mine. In 1999, I went to a concert headlined by TLC. The direct support for them was Destiny's Child. I wasn't familiar with Destiny's Child, but I could tell by the songs, the quality of the songs they were playing and the audience response, that they were already pretty popular. I got their album, The Writings on the Wall, which had great songs on it, such as Bills, Bills, Bills and Jumpin' Jumping. In 2001, I got their album Survivor, which had great songs. Great songs on another great album. That was a huge album for them. I know I went into the 2000s a little bit, but it's kind of necessary specifically when I'm talking about Destiny's Child. Now I'm just going to talk about some of the concerts I went to in the 90s. Some I'll just say that I went to them, some I might elaborate a little more on. In 1992, I saw Bruce Springsteen at the Hartford Civic Center. I think this concert may have been him without the E Street Band, but I'm not absolutely positive because I know I saw him without them on occasion. In 1993, I saw Bon Jovi at the Hartford Civic Center. I talked in my heavy music video about the 1980s. I saw Bon Jovi as an opening act for Ratt. Not shortly thereafter, they released the album Slippery When Wet, which was a big album, and they just continued from there, became a huge band. I was never the biggest Bon Jovi fan. I do like some of their songs. I saw them one other time in concert, too. I mean, they're definitely good to see in concert. They do have the songs. 1994, I saw ZZ Top at the Hartford Civic Center. That was around the time that ZZ Top had a big hit album, some hit songs. I think the album was called Sharp Dressed Man, and one of the hit songs off it was called that. They were not a band either I'd consider a top favorite, but I did see them a couple times live. They do have the good songs, and they're worth seeing live. In 1995, a new facility opened in Hartford, Connecticut called the Meadows. It was, as typical of that, there's a lot more of them that have been built, but it had a area that's covered, seated, several levels close to the stage, and the back was open, and in the back there was a big lawn, so people could sit if they wanted to. They could get tickets to sit inside and be seated, or if they wanted to be out on the lawn, they could too. It was cheaper out there. Initially, when I went to concerts there, I went in the lawn, but as time went by, I preferred to be inside. If you were inside, you could go on the lawn. If you were on the lawn, you couldn't go inside. Plus, if it rained, it's better to be inside. The first concert I saw there was Lollapalooza. Lollapalooza now is a destination concert. It's in Chicago. I forget the dates exactly. It's in the summer. At the time, in the mid-90s, it was a touring festival. I didn't get a chance to see the whole concert because there was some training. It was a work day and there was training I had to do, and I just couldn't get away from it. But I did see the acts that were there when I saw them were Beck, Pavement, Elastica, Hole, and Sonic Youth. I might not have actually seen Beck. I might have just heard him when I was walking in. Kind of regret that I couldn't have seen the whole concert, but just couldn't get out of work. Back then, some of those names, maybe not familiar anymore, but alternative bands, all of them. So it was cool seeing Lollapalooza when it was a touring fest. In 1995, I saw David Bowie and 9 Inch Nails at the Meadows, including this here in this pop one because I think David Bowie fits more in this category than the heavy music where 9 Inch Nails fit. I'll mention this concert also in the heavy music concert section, but I had seen David Bowie a couple times previously. This time he decided to not really play the hits, which is great for the really hardcore fans. As I wasn't really that, I didn't really like that approach so much. There were a few songs I knew. And the way they did it too was interesting that 9 Inch Nails opened. The reason for this co-bill, by the way, is David Bowie was a fan of 9 Inch Nails, and 9 Inch Nails was a fan of David Bowie. So that's why the co-bill made sense in terms of camaraderie, if not necessarily styles. But 9 Inch Nails did their set, and toward the end of it, David Bowie's band came on, and they played a little bit together, and then 9 Inch Nails left, and Bowie continued their set. I don't want to say it's not good seeing Bowie. It's always good seeing somebody like that. I just don't like the approach when people... I really think bands kind of should play their, at least many of their famous songs, because I think that's what most of us want to see. The next concert I saw, also at the Meadows, was R.E.M. Can't remember anything specific about that. Just that R.E.M. had become huge. They were a top band. I think somewhat admirably, I think they kind of did it without compromise. At least that's my opinion. In 1996, I saw Alanis Morissette there on her Jagged Little Pill tour. That was a really big crowd. I don't know why I remember the number. There was 23,000. At the time, they said the place could hold 30,000, but I'm not sure that was the case. I think 23,000 was pretty full. Just cool seeing her. Seeing a woman headline with rock songs like that. Just not so much done like that at the time. In 1996, I saw Bob Seger at the Harvard Civic Center. Don't really remember anything. It's just as I talked about in my 70s videos. Seger was a favorite of my youth, so I know seeing him do the songs had to have been great, even if I have no specific memories of it. In 1996, I saw Tori Amos at the Springfield Symphony Hall in Springfield, Massachusetts. Kind of an elegant facility. I hadn't, up to that time, I don't think, seen any concerts in buildings, like theater-type buildings that would typically have classical orchestras or plays or musicals or people like that. So it was cool seeing her in that location. The thing I remember most about that is just that, as I said when I talked about her albums, it was just her at a piano, and on occasion one of her road crew came out and played a little guitar as backup, but it was just her doing that. And I remember being so impressed by how she could control, appeal to a crowd like that, be mesmerizing, just with that, her at a piano and the songs just playing. And it seems a weird comparison, but I remember thinking when I saw her that she reminded me of Springsteen. Totally different music, totally different styles, but just the ability to enrapture and excite and make a crowd engrossed. I think they both have that in common. Just a concert that will always stick in my mind as one of the best concerts I've been to. In 1996, I saw Smashing Pumpkins and Garbage at the Hartford Civic Center. Didn't really talk about Smashing Pumpkins. I had some of their albums. They are a great band. I wouldn't say they became one of my favorite bands or anything, but they do have a lot of great songs. This concert, though, for me was more about seeing Garbage, who, as I mentioned previously, one of my favorite bands for that era. Again, with a lot of these concerts, unfortunately, I can't remember specifics, just that I know I was happy to see them. And Smashing Pumpkins, too. They are a great alternative rock band. In 1997, I had a ticket to see No Doubt at the Meadows. What happened was that my father was not in very good shape. He was in a nursing home at that time. I got a call from either my mother or my sister at work that maybe I should come home and see him, because they frankly didn't think he'd be around that much longer. So I did go home and see him, and if that was not too much later, that would have been too much for me. I would not have gone back to the concert, but back in 1997, a lot younger, I had a lot more stamina, will, whatever you want to call it. So I got something to eat. I remember we ordered pizza. I don't remember why I remember, but then I went back to see the No Doubt concert. One thing I remember about that concert was during Just a Girl, lead singer Gwen Stefani had both the men and the women sing the Just a Girl chorus. So that was kind of interesting. During a recent live stream I watched of the recent Coachella Fest, No Doubt was a headliner there. They did the same thing there. They had the men sing Just a Girl, the chorus of it. And I read some commentary on it that implied that that was like a new thing, and I'm thinking, well, I saw him do it back in 1997, so it's kind of not really a new thing. But another band I'm happy I saw right in their prime, no doubt. Shortly after the No Doubt concert, I think it was 10 days, unfortunately my father did pass away. I think that was on a Tuesday. On Friday, I had a ticket to see Sheryl Crow at the Oakdale Theater. My relatives did encourage me to go, so I did go to it. The Oakdale Theater had been changed in the I think 96. As I mentioned in my previous videos, it had been a tent in the round, and it was only summer concerts at a revolving stage in the center. But they had remodeled it extensively into a good-sized theater. There's a theater part of it which I believe holds 4,800. And the original tent area is now the lobby, which they do hold concerts in there now too. They call it the Dome at the Oakdale Theater. But I did go to the Sheryl Crow concert, and glad I did. I remember enjoying myself. I mean, obviously a bit of a difficult time, but it was good to see Sheryl Crow because, as I said, she was a favorite of mine from that time. A little later, actually in August of 1987, I saw Bob Dylan and Ani DiFranco at the Oakdale Theater. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I really don't think that Bob Dylan is a particularly good live performer. Kind of just stands there on stage. I mean, it's good to see somebody like that because he's legendary, but he's never really been a super favorite of mine. But I really did like Ani DiFranco. Especially I'm glad that as I mentioned when I talked about my favorites from the era, I listened to some of her music, got familiar with it. So I was really happy to see her. I forgot to mention too that I did a little earlier, I think it was 1996, I saw Bob Dylan with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at the Hartford Civic Center, Hartford, Connecticut. And it wasn't Bob Dylan with Tom Petty opening, it was Bob Dylan with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers backing Dylan. I thought that was good because it gave him a backing, rocking band backing him up, which I thought was a good thing. That was the only time I ever saw Tom Petty. It's unfortunate I didn't see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers headline. I mean, I know they play some of their songs at that concert, but it's not the same as if they had headlined. In 1988, I saw Sarah McLachlan. I'm pretty sure it was the Oakdale Theater. And with another singer I liked, I didn't mention, but I had some of her albums, was Lisa Loeb opening. As with many of these, unfortunately, like I said, I can't remember specific details, but Sarah McLachlan was a favorite of mine, so it was good to see her. In 1998, I saw Radio 104's Jingle Ball Jam. That was a concert I went because Garbage was performing there. I cannot remember what other bands were performing, but just another opportunity to see Garbage. In 1999, I saw that the Rolling Stones were coming to the Hartford Civic Center, and I kind of didn't bite on tickets, but I kept looking online. I guess at that time it was, well, we were getting tickets online because I talked previously about we used to wait in lines, but looking online, and there was a point where there was only single tickets available behind the stage, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity for me to see the Rolling Stones, and I'll be stupid not to take it. So I did take it. I got a ticket behind the stage, and I'm glad I did. It's the only time I ever saw them. It was also notable, too, in the state of Connecticut because on that night was the N.W.A. men's basketball championship. And the UConn Huskies were playing, and they did win, so that was notable, too. I think at the end of the Rolling Stones concert they announced that fact, so that was kind of interesting. Another memorable moment from it. But just the most important things was that I saw the Rolling Stones. In 1999, I saw Jewel at the Meadows. Interesting fact about that concert, in addition to seeing Jewel, was that Radiohead was an opening act for her. I think at the time they had a song called Creep, which was getting played on the radio. So it was kind of interesting seeing Radiohead as an opening act. It's the only time I ever saw them. It was just good seeing Jewel. It was a big place too. As the years went by and I saw her more times, she played smaller places. But another one again, like I say, unfortunately, just happy seeing her. I think another band I really grew to like, I saw several other times, was Rusted Root, and I think they were another opening act for Jewel, but it could have been another concert for them. In 1999, I saw the Lilith Fair at the Meadows. That was an all-woman festival that Sarah McLachlan organized, and I just remember it being really it felt really peaceful. Like some concerts I went to, there was a certain aggressiveness to it where I felt kind of maybe in a little danger, but it just felt perfectly peaceful. Can't really remember all the acts besides Sarah McLachlan. I think Lisa Loeb was there, who I mentioned was at her earlier concert I saw. The Pretenders. Can't really remember who else was at that Lilith Fair. But like I say, just the feeling of it being very, very peaceful. Very almost like an oasis from real life, being at that concert. In 1999, I saw TLC at the Hartford Civic Center. As I mentioned earlier, Destiny's Child was a direct support for them. I don't remember specifically TLC songs. I do remember a couple of the songs from Destiny's Child. Specifically remember a song called Bills, 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 which I wasn't familiar with, but just sounded really good live. Which is not to say I didn't like TLC. It's just difficult to remember so long ago when I've seen so many concerts. I guess the coolest thing about that is that, well, it's cool that I saw TLC, but it's cool that I saw Beyonce as a support act. I saw Beyonce as an opening act, so that's pretty cool. I just want to talk about what the bands, the singers that I talked about in this video, what they're currently doing, if I'm aware of it. When I do these videos, I don't really study. I just want to do things on what my impressions and memories are. Just going to go through those, say if I know what they're doing now. Public Enemy, I know, still recently put out albums, music, pretty recently. One of their members, Flavor Flav, was at the recent Olympics. He was kind of like a hype man for I think it was the women's water polo team. But I watched the Olympics a lot and I saw him a lot there. N.W.A. is long since broken up. The most famous member, Dr. Dre, still does a lot of stuff. He produces, still releases albums. I think he's a producer collaborator with Eminem, so he's still active. The other members I don't really know. One of the members I know died pretty young. I can't think of his name offhand. But really the only one I know what's going on, still active is Dr. Dre. Sheryl Crow continued to release albums. She kind of took a turn toward country albums, country music. I am not sure where her music is now. I've kind of lost track of it a little bit. But I did go to several more of her concerts. Tori Amos still releases music, still tours. I have dropped off a little bit in my fandom of her. I still get emails from her, but I haven't purchased the last 2-3 albums of hers. I'm sure they're good. It's just I've kind of drifted away a little bit. I forgot to mention in my concert listing that I saw the Cranberries in 1996 at the Meadows. It was shortly after the Tori Amos concert. Unfortunately, their lead singer, Dolores O'Riordan, passed away a few years back. I think there was some addiction issues involved, but she was pretty young, so there is no more Cranberries. I did see them one more time. One of the members of TLC, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, she unfortunately died in a plane crash a while back, but the other two members have reconstituted TLC and they have toured and released music. I guess you could question when it's TLC and L is gone, how can you still use the name, but I'm kind of not a purist and stuff like that. I can understand if people are. No Doubt has come back together on occasion. I did, which I'll talk about in one of my later videos, but I did see them. They did a comeback tour. And as I mentioned, they recently played at the Coachella Fest. I think that was after not doing anything for maybe 6-7 years. But they have come together on occasion. A few years back, Alanis Morissette did a 25th anniversary tour for Jagged Little Pill. And that was really a big selling tour. I was fortunate to be able to see that tour. And she toured again this year, and another big selling tour. So she had a period of time where she wasn't playing, the arenas anymore, but she is back playing them again. Jewel still does release music, at least I know she has not too long ago. I saw her some more times. It's been quite a while since I saw her, but she has continued to release music. She's not at the level she was then as far as places she plays and stuff, but or could play if she does tour, but she still does release music. Garbage released an album back in, I think, 2021. They were one of the opening acts for the Alanis Morissette Jagged Little Pill tour concert that I saw in 2021, which was cool, seeing the two of them together. And actually the other act there, Cat Power, was the opening act that I had seen a couple times before too. Sarah McLachlan still tours, still releases music. As a matter of fact, she is touring, either she did tour recently this year or she's still to tour, I can't remember, but she does still tour. And I assume she's still releasing music to lead into that tour, but I haven't really kept track of her. Bob Dylan still tours. I don't know if he releases music anymore. But Ani DiFranco continues to release music. She tours, as a matter of fact. I just got an email just today as I film this, which is Thursday, September 19th, that she has just announced a tour. So she still tours. I ended up seeing her a bunch more times, but it's been quite a while. Beyonce, of course, is huge. She plays stadiums now. She released a country album recently, which I guess was well received. The song I heard from it was really good. I don't know what the other two members of Destiny's Child are doing. I know they've had their successes, but not remotely than Beyonce's. Of course, not too many people have the successes at the level Beyonce does. Bruce Springsteen continues to release music. He continues to tour. He did have some problems on a recent tour. Health issues. It could be age maybe finally catching up to him. He's pushing his mid-70s. I'm not sure how old he is exactly, but he is in his 70s. And the energy he puts out in his concerts may be possibly not something he's able to do anymore, but that's just speculation. Bon Jovi, there are, I think, some rumors that they might release music and tour soon. They have, not too long ago, done both of those things. One of the members of ZZ Top died, but they also tour. They toured this year. Maybe they're still touring. I don't know if they continue to release music or not. David Bowie unfortunately passed away not too long ago. 9 not too long ago toured. I haven't heard anything from them recently, touring music-wise. Trent Reznor with a partner, Atticus Finch, does a lot of movie and video game soundtracks, and they're quite critically acclaimed for it. Possibly won Oscars, Grammys. I'm not sure about that, but that possibly is his focus now because he is well regarded for that, and I imagine that's a nice, steady source of income if you're good at it. R.E.M. broke up not too long ago. I said in a previous video I thought they had just decided to retire. I guess it was kind of a breakup, although I don't think it was acrimonious. I don't know anything whether they might get back together again, or I think I said in the previous video I'd heard that maybe they would, but I think that was perhaps mistaken on my part because I don't know that that's the case. Bob Seger retired not too long ago. I don't think he'll ever tour or put out music again. You can never tell, but some people you think it really is, they are done with it. The Smashing Pumpkins toured not long ago. The lead singer, Billy Corgan, is the owner of a famous wrestling federation, the National Wrestling Alliance. I haven't now watched them in a while, but he was not only the owner, but he's an on-screen presence, which sometimes happens with owners of wrestling federations. But Smashing Pumpkins did tour not long ago. I forgot to mention this in my concert listings, but in 1997 I saw Styx. I'm not sure of where I saw him, and I think Pat Benatar was the opening act. Both of them still tour. 50 plus years for Styx. Pat Benatar tours with her husband, who writes songs and plays guitars for Neil Giraldo. I know they've toured recently. The Rolling Stones recently released music. They did a stadium tour earlier this year. In the US, they may perhaps now be playing stadiums in other parts of the world. The members are around 80 years old, but supposedly they were still really good live. There was one other Lilith Fair festival. It's, I think it was the late 2000s. I did see it. It was good, but I didn't get quite the peaceful vibe that I got at the previous one I saw. Not that I feared violence. There's just a certain, I don't know, there's a little bit of meanness in the audience is all I can describe. Might have just been the ones I was near when I heard it, but it didn't to me seem it was quite that. It was just another concert then, which was nothing wrong with that, but it didn't quite have the magic of the one I saw in the late 90s. I'd be interested to hear for anyone who actually was going to concerts, listening to music in the 90s. If you have had any memories you'd like to share, please reply in the comments. Or actually, even if you like these bands now, what you think of them, your opinion. If you're interested to hear that, please reply in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos. Hope you're having a wonderful week, listening to some great music, reading some great books.